Good night, everybody that is joining us today. I'm very happy to be here and give you this very short, but I hope very useful webinar on perception and how it can become our mental health tool to improvement. I want to thank the Rise Women's Network for inviting me today, and also remind you that if you're joining us today and on all the webinars that are going to take place in the next few days, to use the hashtag NextSisterUp so we can make more noise about this. My name is Graciela González. I'm a clinical psychologist from Costa Rica. I specialized in cognitive behavioral therapy, and also I have a specialization in rehabilitation and neuropsychological evaluation. I apologize, my main language is not English, it's Spanish. So if I hesitate a little on what I say, it's because it's not the usual language I speak. I have prepared for you a very important subject, and I hope you guys enjoy it. Let's start. The first thing that I want to talk about is how we understand perception. How do we know what perception is? If I go to the dictionary, it says that perception is the ability to see, hear, or become aware of something through the senses, or is a way of regarding, understanding, or interpreting something or a mental impression. So basically, we are saying that perception is an ability, is related to our senses, to our experiences, to our knowledge, and to our understanding. We can only perceive things based on subjective conditions. So whatever I perceive is not going to be what you perceive. Our senses, what we have lived prior to the issue or situation, our knowledge, our background, and even our location, religion, culture, is going to be a part of our interpretation, of our perception of things, okay? For example, I am from Costa Rica, as I mentioned, and in Costa Rica we don't have an army. We haven't got an army since 1948. So basically anything related to war, military, submissions, guns, uniforms, anything related to war basically, or military, it's quite impressive and even shocking sometimes to my own perception. I am not used to seeing people in military uniforms or fatigues. I don't think I've ever seen like something bigger than a regular handgun that police may have. My dad was a policeman, so there was a gun in my house. But from that, maybe a rifle, but it was like a rifle for fun who had safes. I don't know, so I'm really not used to anything related to fighting or war, okay? We don't know what it's like to have the urge to go fight for our country, because that is not something that has been implanted in our brains since we don't have an army, okay? We don't know what military training is like. As of now, I think that there are 23 countries in the world that don't have a military force, including Costa Rica. I think Panama, Micronesia, and the Vatican are part of these countries that don't have an army. So I bet most of you didn't know that, because if you're from the United States, having a military, it's very common. It's something that is a regular thing in your culture and in your society. It's part of your knowledge. So it is probably surprising to you to hear that there are countries that don't have any. In your perception and based on your location, your culture, your knowledge, having a military, it's a given fact for a country. Does that make us different? Yes and no. It makes us more part of the wonderful variety that is the world. But when we talk about perception, it does make a difference, because our perception as citizens, in countries where there is no army, war is not a solution, because we don't have an army. So if we have any type of conflict, we are not going to assume fighting is a way to solve it. What we are going to do is probably resort to other means, such as the Organization of United Nations, maybe, or the Inter-American Court of Human Rights, perhaps. Those would be our neutral entities, I guess, to solve conflicts. But war would not be one of them. In another example, I am going to share a personal experience. I am 38 years old. I am married. I've been with my husband for many, many years. We've been together for about 17 years. And I personally am what people may know as a child-free woman. Also, they are kind of calling us no-mos because we don't want to be mothers. What this means is that I have personally chosen not to procreate and focus all my efforts into my work, my goals, my studies, my family, and such. I have chosen this path mainly because I was never attracted to the idea of motherhood. I do adore children, and in my practice as a clinical psychologist, I have to admit that I enjoy working with children. Also, my nieces and my nephew are my world. I love them to pieces. I enjoy every second that I spend with them. I just don't feel attracted to the responsibility that is motherhood. It has happened to me in the past that, and several times to be honest, that when someone asks me why I haven't had any children, given the fact that I've been with my husband so many years, that I am almost 40, and when I say exactly that I'm not interested or attracted to the idea of motherhood, a lot of people take it personally and they get extremely offended. Why? Because at least in my culture, in the Latin culture, perception tells people that a woman must procreate. And if a woman doesn't want to have children, we must feel ashamed for her. There's something wrong with this woman that doesn't have the urge to be a mom. I'm pretty sure it's very common in most Occidental cultures, or even Oriental cultures too. A woman that says, I do not want to have children, I want to focus on my goals, is disruptive. People, for some reason, and due probably to lack of information, will sometimes see it as a threat. Is she saying that she's better than me because she doesn't want to be a mother? Is she saying that my goals are not important? I'm not saying any of that. What I'm saying is I just don't like candy, but you're welcome to have all the candy that you want. How can we use then perception as a mental health tool? Okay, I'm going back to the definition of perception. There is a lot that we can do to use perception as a tool and improve our mental health and relations. As I mentioned before, perception is an ability. We can all perceive and we all have the ability. We just need to expand it and avoid focusing our perception into whatever is inside our little box. When I say our little box, I mean our bubble. We all have bubbles. Mine perhaps is very privileged, to be honest. I may not have a lot of money. I have enough to be okay. But for example, and I'm very ashamed to say this, I would not take the public transportation because I have a car. And that's not a choice. Am I better than others? No, I just have a car. Others may not. I have friends that have cars and rather use public transportation. To me, it's not useful. I carry a lot of things with me. Public transportation in my country is very bad. So it's just not a choice. And that's my bubble. I have privileges. One is having a choice to use my car or public transportation. However, I cannot think that because other people don't have cars, I should be ashamed of them. They have choices. They could use the train. They could use the taxi cab. They could use Uber. And that would be fine too. Okay? So we need to think outside the box. Is this person that is taking the public transportation, has it really bad? Or are they choosing to use this maybe it's not that hard for them. Maybe it's perfect for them. So we cannot just assume things. Uh, Also, perception is part of our senses. This means that we can see, hear, taste, and feel and smell everything the world has to offer. We need to embrace it with open arms and take everything with an open mind. Question everything and use our critical thinking to create knowledge. It is based on experiences. When we allow ourselves to live, to experience life without judgment, we can take others into consideration. But most importantly, we can accept that people are always going to be different than us. Our perception of the world becomes limitless, and having no boundaries will allow us to become citizens of the world. I cannot think of anything better than that. Be able to enjoy whatever the world has to offer and make our own mistakes and make our own choices and decisions about everything. We are open to that, and we choose to either take advantage of it or don't. I believe taking advantage of that will allows us to perceive things in a more welcoming way. Perception is also part of our knowledge. This is why it is always important to understand where people come from their roots, their stories, their culture, their religion, their practices, the way they understand things. I have seen over and over again how lack of openness to experiences can compromise the acquisition of very important knowledge over and over again. We are closing our doors to understanding more our surroundings. And given all the facts that I've just explained, I'm gonna ask again, how can we use perception as a mental health tool? Not trusting it, but questioning it. Yep, that is basically it. We cannot trust our perception, but we must question it every time. And I'm gonna give you a few examples. Recently, like in the past couple of years, I'm pretty sure many of you have seen these on the news. A lot of people calling the police on their own neighbors for doing very mundane things, walking into their own building, doing a barbecue at the park, using the pool in their residential area. And I tell you this, and your perception of things will be based on everything that I have explained before. This may come sort of like this. My ability as a Costa Rican woman to interpret calling the police on someone for walking into their own building, doing a barbecue at the park, using the pool in their residential area, tells me that perhaps they were doing something illegal, because I wouldn't think of any other reason why I would call the police. My senses will probably tell me to check on what I see, what I hear, what I smell, touch, or taste from these people walking into their building, doing a barbecue at the park, using the pool in their residential area, and check if it's legal. My experience, again, as a Latin privileged woman who lives in Costa Rica, will tell me that a person walking into their own building, doing a barbecue at the park, using the pool at the residential area, is probably just doing exactly that. I would not call the police at all, unless it is clear to me that something illegal is taking place. But how do I know that? Well, my personal knowledge can provide me with that answer. If I am an educated woman, I can see and verify when something looks fishy. And even if it looks fishy, I can pause for a minute and check if someone walking into their own building, doing a barbecue at the park, using the pool in their residential area seems illegal. We all know that in these examples that I have provided you, the only thing in common was that the people walking into their own building, doing a barbecue at the park, using the pool in their residential area, were all black people, and nothing more. Nothing illegal was taking place. Nothing fishy was taking place. It was just people with a compromised perception of things, let's say. The perception of people who called the police in these very random and common situations was biased. by exactly the same four things that I mentioned: their abilities, their senses, their experiences, and their knowledge, or lack thereof. It is quite obvious that in their specific cases, they have never taken the time to not trust their perception as it has been constructed, and they have never questioned it either. If these people had stopped and think, literally think outside anything that has ever come through their senses, their own personal experiences, and even what they know firsthand are not based. Whatever they were interpreting about these situations was based on fake news, the media, or whatever they were taught at home, they wouldn't probably just get on with their day. Or would they? I think they would have. That's how I was brought up personally. There is a poet named Nicole Lyons that says that if we can change our perception, we can change our reality. I totally agree with her. So I came up with a few guidelines to help us improve through our perception. Okay. Number one, do not take anything personally. Always keep in mind that whatever comes out of someone's speech is biased and is probably not based on you, but on something else. Stop assuming people are mean to you or want to harm you. Some people may want to harm you, but most of them are just trying to get by. We are bombarded every day with so much stress and so much information. If anyone is mean to you, they are probably not even noticing. Be assertive with complaints and bad news mostly. When I was younger, I used to work for call centers for a lot of years, and I learned that whenever there is something negative to say or bad news, one must avoid saying it in a negative way. I know it is hard, and trust me, it is an ability that you must practice every day. It becomes easier as time goes by. But when we have bad news or negative information to provide, we need to try and give it with a positive attitude and with a positive speech, as simple as possible. People will accept it a lot better, and they will be open to discuss and talk more calmly. Number four, be annoying, and not just for the fun of it. Ask a lot of questions. That's what it means. Never let anything to interpretations, to open interpretations, as these are always subjective. Make sure you understand where people are coming from all the time. And it is a cliche, but the only stupid question is the question you don't ask. Number five, don't stay quiet when injustice is taking place. Be verbal. Question the people acting in an unfair way on everything. Put them in the position of the ones they are being unfair to. Sometimes that can make a difference. That can make them rethink their actions and behavior. We need to be models for others to behave and not just follow the herd. Number six, learn. Learn everything you can about everything. Something as simple as a man leaving the toilet seat up in the bathroom could be interpreted as he doesn't care about me as a woman, but it could also come from the way he was brought up. Perhaps no one ever explained to him how that can be disrespectful or a threat. Maybe he never shared a room with a woman, so he has no clue. Who knows? Always practice possibilities. This is an exercise I give to my teenager patients when they are brought up to me because they are making bad choices and behavior. So I have them do this. Whenever they want to do something that either their parents, their bosses, their teachers, or anybody that it's an authority has specifically asked them not to do, but they want to do, I have them take a minute and think about two positive outcomes and two negative outcomes. And after thinking about that, make the choice. Is it worth it? Number 8, don't assume. Never assume people are acting in a specific way for a reason. Don't think that they act, do, or treat you like you think you deserve. We need to teach them. Always be verbal. Be verbal on your likes, dislikes, your culture, or your religious practices. People will learn from you, and you can show more respect to them by teaching them how to respect you. When we understand where people come from, when we understand where we come from, we are more open to experiences and knowledge. We are all teachers of each other, and that's very important to remember. Number 9, embrace positive wishes. When people have a connection to us, they want us to like them. And they will most likely choose to show you their feelings with things they enjoy, believe in, or practice. It doesn't matter your creed, where you come from. If someone brings you a word of encouragement, a gift, an invitation, always accept it. It is their way to tell you that you matter to them. And number 10, and this is, I think, the most important one of it all, always be grateful. Even if it looks like something bad is happening, be grateful. I am personally a fan of failure. Every time I have failed in life, I've gained expertise, I've gained knowledge, and that has modeled my perception to be more open to possibilities. If you got stuck in traffic, if things didn't go the way you planned, just say thank you, pick yourself up, and keep moving. Everything is always happening for a reason, and the attitude we have towards this is going to shape us and our perception all the time. The way we receive everything shapes the way we perceive. So always remember that being humble will help us be more open to possibilities. Thinking that we are better, that we know more, or that we are more important than others will never help us shape an ability to perceive the world in an improving way. Also keep in mind that improving means growing, and we can only grow if we can accept we are still very little in this big wide world. Last but not least, always act based on love. Try and think for a moment, is this love expression something I would enjoy, or something my recipient will enjoy? Again, I want to thank everybody for their time. I hope my little video and webinar was useful. I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have. If you address them to me at my email that I'm going to share with Kenneth, maybe she can provide it to you. I hope you guys enjoy the rest of the webinars we have prepared for you. Have a great night. Bye-bye.